Hi and welcome back to Horror Spin. This is the YouTube channel where we unbox classic and reissued horror movie soundtracks on vinyl. And this is sort of a special edition of Horror Spin because we're looking at CDs today. We normally don't do that, but because Varese Sarabande is such a well-known soundtrack company, and because they're so well known for their vinyl, particularly horror movie soundtracks, we're going to have a look at this special release, this limited release that they've just done called The Little Box of Horrors. It's in a cool little black box here with a silver handle on top. Very similar to the CD soundtrack subscription that they did last year in 2015. So this is a 2016 release. It just came out. It was a limited edition. There is a link to the purchase website in the description below in case there are still some available. But my guess is these are, if they're not sold out, they're selling out fast because horror movie soundtrack collectors would really want to go after these. There are some CDs in here that have never been released on CD before or that are long out of print. And where applicable, we're going to compare the look of these CDs that are in this box to some of the vinyl releases that I have in my personal collection that are really well known and rare from Varese Sarabande. So let's have a look. Here's what's inside here. We've got that up there. We've got all the CDs here. So there is a pretty extensive collection of liner notes here. And they're written by Randall D. Larson, who is a film music historian. And we've got both a little bit about the films and the music in the films, along with the track listings and the credits. So those are the liner notes. And now let's kind of look through and see what we have inside the box. So this is Charles Bernstein's score for Deadly Friend, the Wes Craven film. And if we look at the CD here, it is actually exactly like the cover of the vinyl, both on the front and the back, sort of in the Varese Sarabande style of having the film credits and a couple of stills from the movie, and we've got a photo of the composer Charles Bernstein down here. So exactly the same. So that's a really cool replica of a very hard to find vinyl soundtrack that's first up in the Little Box of Horrors. Next we've got Dracula 2000. That's a Marco Beltrami score, another film that Wes Craven was involved in. This one, not as much interest to me. It's pretty easy to find on CD, but it is included in the set. Next up we have Howard Shore's score for The Fly. And once again, it's a really cool and really close vinyl replica, both front and back, of a soundtrack that's getting harder and harder to find on vinyl. You can still find it, but it's starting to get a little bit expensive, of Howard Shore's score from the David Cronenberg film. Then we've got The Hidden. This is the Jack Shoulder film with the Michael Convertino score. I don't have the vinyl of this one, but it is pretty similar to the cassette here, and that's the poster art from the film. Next up is the Jay Chataway score for Maniac, and this one is very difficult to find, particularly on vinyl, and it's even pretty expensive on CD. So this is pretty valuable to someone who's coming across the Little Box of Horrors set, a score that's getting really, really hard to find. And pretty similar to the vinyl, we've got the the logo really being the only difference, but of course this famous controversial cover art that was also the poster art for the film, and then the back cover is pretty much exactly the same, even with the liner notes, which are pretty hard to read on the CD since it's so small. But I think it's cool that they made a replica of this, since the vinyl is getting so hard to find. So that's pretty neat. Next up is the Goldsmith score for the Mephisto Waltz, and that is actually a lesser known film than this. Also includes here music from The Other, which is a much better known film based on the Tom Tryon novel, and this includes a 22-minute suite of music from The Other, along with the soundtrack from the Mephisto Waltz. Then we've got Mimic here, which is a Beltrami score that's still pretty easy to find on CD. This is the deluxe edition. The exact same art front and back as the jewel-cased CD of the deluxe edition, the original release of that. Robert Colbert's score for The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I don't have anything to compare that to. This is another one that's getting really hard to find. This is the original Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 1. And this does not look like the vinyl at all. The vinyl is actually really cool, but again, getting really, really hard to find and really expensive. Same concept art, same poster art from the film, but the front and back covers are very different. So here we've got your standard stills from the film, the film credits, just like most of the Varese vinyl. But the CD that's included in the little box of horrors looks a lot more like the CD release of the score, which is still, it's not easy to find, but it's easier to find than the vinyl. And if you're looking for the Nightmare on Elm Street music, you can also find a CD of parts 1 and 2 combined. That one is a little easier to find and a little less expensive. And all of this music is also on iTunes, so you can always find the score that way. The soundtrack by Richard Stone from the Stan Winston film Pumpkinhead. Nothing to compare this one to, but that's a nice one to have in the box. The Beltrami score for Scream. And this is the deluxe edition. It looks just like the CD release on the front and back. But if you're interested in a vinyl of this, Varese just put out a really nice vinyl of the Scream 1 and 2 score soundtrack. Both of those Marco Beltrami scores. So while we're at it, we'll just have a look at this one real quick. We've got Ghostface on the front with the phone there, nice cover art, and then we've got a nice white swirl vinyl, and you can see the Barrymore character on the label there, and her entrails are phone cords. Pretty funny. There's the back of that. So a pretty neat vinyl release that's still available from Varese. And then the last one in the box is The Serpent and the Rainbow, the Brad Fiedel score. And again, this is one that's really hard to find either on vinyl or CD, and it's a really good score for a really good Wes Craven movie. And once again, Varese gives us a really nice replica of the vinyl in the box, front and back. So that's your look at the Varese Sarabande Little Box of Horrors. A really cool set for anybody that's interested in horror movie soundtracks. And check the description below and you can see a link to the purchase website to see if there are still any available. Good luck and thanks for watching.